Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Monarch Voices, the #1 podcast in all of Delaware.
We're claiming it. Continue.
The #1 podcast in all of Delaware and the Mid-Atlantic region.
Oh, wow. We're going big.
We're going big. Hello, everyone. I hope you guys had a great week. As you can see, we have a guest here with us, Representative Deshanna Neal. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. And hello, Mid-Atlantic region.
Right? All right, so we have a lot to discuss today, so I'll jump right into the announcements. Just a little update of what we have going on at the cottage. Next Sunday at 3 p.m., we will be starting our grief group that we talked about with Sharice Brown Torres. So if anyone is dealing with grief or trying to work through grief, we will be starting a monthly support group here in at the cottage in collaboration with Sharice and her organization Pushing Through Inc. Yeah. So that's really the big announcement that I have. I'll go ahead and turn it over to Dawn for her hot topics.
So we've had a busy week.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I stumbled.
No,
there.
you're fine.
You know. Devin will let me know when I stumble, but I did just stumble, but it's okay. But we've had a busy week, wouldn't you say? And we accomplished a lot this week, right?
We did get a lot
But one
done.
of the things that I wanted to talk about was the swim
with the shark.
That's what it was
pitch
called.
Competition. Are you familiar with this?
We got an email to our state email to attend, but I'm tired, so I did not attend.
Right.
But yes, I did hear about it and I saw pictures.
Yeah, it was really good. It was down at Penn Cinema.
Right.
And there were 5 finalists. Drone University by Ashley Cooper ended up winning the competition for her drone business. And one of the things that I found very interesting just about drones is that sometimes we think of them just in terms of pictures or being able to capture pictures.
Right.
But Ashley talked about using drones for light shows to replace fireworks and how that would be better for the environment too. So I just thought that was safer.
And that would also, I'm thinking about the fact that, 3 of my 4 children have autism. And fireworks, sensory-wise for them, it's just not something they can handle.
Right.
And so oftentimes we do not get to go to those types of things. Drones will not be as loud.
Right.
And the smell will not be
Exactly.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
That was good. It was a cool week.
It was a cool session. So my thing is, and I made a comment to somebody, Chris said, oh, I didn't see you there. Chris from
Trash Porters.
He said, oh, I didn't see you there. And I said to him, oh, I like to be the person on the wall, just looking around, And he said, well, how do you get your message out that way? You can't get your message out that way, right? And I am, I think I posted on, when I posted this week, I said I'm getting my voice. At 52, it took me all these years to get my voice, but I still have those moments in social settings where I want to be the person on the wall. Yeah. So in saying that, how do you feel that you network? What tools do you use to get through a network session? And then for me, I have to recover from that, right?
Yes.
So what do you do to recover? You know what I mean? So that's Dawn's hot topics for today. So what do you think?
So for me, I because I'm just starting to network again, especially changing careers where I didn't really have to network at my old job because everyone knew me. Like I was the person that was sought after, right? So, but what
bragging? Do we do much bragging?
Well,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
It's kind of what I do.
Yeah.
But no, I set a very small goal for myself. So as long as for right now, if I go into a networking situation, as long as I make one solid connection,
Right.
I feel good with that, and then I allow myself to go stand on the wall.
Okay.
So I think that over time, I'll probably work that up to 2 connections and 3 connections. But yeah, I still have to recover too. So I just kind of take my time.
So I'm a Scorpio. I'm also the youngest child, so I have always had the ability to get out there.
Right.
Shyness is definitely not something I have, but I am what they call an introverted extrovert.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I kind of feed off the energy, and I have this uncanny ability to observe, like being on the wall, but interact at the same time.
Really? Interact.
Yes.
Okay.
I can almost observe every single thing happening around me, even if I don't seem like I'm doing it.
Oh, wow.
And at the same time, I'm interacting with people. And I can sense and feel where that person is based on just interacting with them because of my observations. If I feel like I'm going to get a good network connection with you, I'm going to keep that conversation going. But if I can sense you're like kind of like, then I will move to the next person. And then I go home. And then I'm home, and I call it being touched out. You know, so I have 4 children, and when I come home from different things, I do need to decompress.
Yes.
And my youngest, who's 10, my baby, Thane, he is a touchy-feely cuddle monster. So he'll start to come towards me, and we've gotten to a place where I've, raised him about asking for consent. And he'll go, "Mommy, are you touched out?" And I'll go, "Right now, yes. Give me about 3 hours, and then we can cuddle." And honestly, I'm very intentional about my self-care. I have this motto where I'm like, your self-care should be selfish.
Yes.
I'm very selfish when it comes to my self-care. And so I will decompress in a variety of ways so that I can recover. Because both jobs that I have requires me to interact with a lot of different types of people.
Right.
It is a weird skill to be able to be the person on the wall and also the person in the crowd. But somehow I've managed to master that, and it has, I think, helped me get there. And you will get there. Yeah. It is definitely one of those things where it's okay if that event you just aren't feeling it.
Yeah. Okay.
That's normal, actually. That is your natural instinct that maybe this isn't the place where I'm going to be able to get that connection.
Right.
Your body is telling you something. You don't know necessarily what it is, but it's instinctual.
Right.
And then you might be at an event where you're like, I feel like maybe that person I can talk to.
Yeah.
So that's where you have to take that courage and just kind of go out there.
Yeah.
And as you said, Devin, once you do that person, you're like exchanging cards and numbers. You can be done.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah. You can be done.
Yeah.
You don't have to be the social butterfly. Not everyone is, and not everybody wants to be.
Right.
And we as a society need to know that's also okay.
Yeah.
Because you can be the person on the wall and still get your message out there. Because I'm going to tell you something, Dawn. While you're on the wall, there are people like me who see you. And we'll approach you instead because we don't care.
Right.
We're like that person looks scared. Let me go scare them some more. Right? Hi. Right? So even if at that moment you are not doing it, someone will approach you. And you two are usually together. You can take turns on who's going to be the social butterfly.
Yeah. That's so true.
And you can uplift each other.
Yeah.
So if Devin's like, ugh, I've already talked to 1.5 people. I don't know why it would be half. 1.5 people. I can't do this anymore.
Right.
Then that's where you can go, you know what? I'll talk to the other half of that person. Because that's all I can give today.
And so that half person may even be a handoff. Like I may bring that person to you
and hand it off. Yeah. And just to say it, that's why I do appreciate Devin and my partner, because Devin as my partner, because there are instances where I know that I'm not gonna or don't want to get off the wall.
Mm-hmm.
She will start it, and I can pick up and you know.
And then I'm at the bar. I'm like, can I have a wine?
That's the beauty of
Yeah.
that's what networking should be.
Yeah.
It really isn't just one person doing the work.
Yeah.
It's a team effort.
Yeah.
I mean, I drag my older two kids with me almost everywhere, and they will pick up where they can, and then I'll pick up where they can't,
Right.
and vice versa. And it's why we are able to spread our message
Yeah.
a little further, because it isn't just one person trying to close the deal.
Right.
It used to be that way,
Yeah.
but it doesn't work that way in this society anymore.
Yeah.
We have to be teams. We have to be, companions and partners in getting messages
Yeah.
out,
Yeah.
especially within the Black community. We really, we're good at that. So
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if you had you had anything else, but this just goes right into Rep Neal, I'm sorry, and just what do you want to tell everybody? What is your message, and what do you just want today to be about?
Well, I am up for my first re-election, and that's a big deal.
That is a huge deal.
Considering I am someone who never saw myself in this space. I've always been a community-oriented person. I'm a product of the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And for anyone who knows the 80s, especially in Black communities, family and the entire neighborhood was your family.
Right.
I mean, I grew up where if I got in trouble, my neighbor's like, we're going to tell your mom.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no. I'm sorry. What can I do to make this not happen? And so me running for office in 2022 was huge for a host of reasons, but it was big because I was running up against a 16-year incumbent.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm someone who I've never held any other office. I sat on a lot of committees, like a ton of committees, but that's an entirely different world.
Right.
And I had done, lobbying and like pushing for change in the federal sector, but again, it was different because it was local. It was my home,
Right.
and so I wasn't really certain what I could do, but I had some beautiful support. I always thank my children, because they had to give me up
Right.
for a year and a half.
Yeah.
Like they had to give me up so that I could door knock and do grassroots campaigning, because
Right.
that's what it was about for me.
Right.
And so when I won, and again, voting is so important. I know we see a lot of people like, my vote's not going to matter. My vote doesn't matter. It does, because I am a living example of how every vote matters. I won by 24 votes.
Wow.
Just 24.
Wow.
That was 24 extra people who probably hadn't voted because they were like, I don't know, but who believed in my message and believed in me.
Yeah.
And I get to be in a very different space. I get to make policies that will move Delaware forward, that will move my district forward. And I love my district. I love the small businesses in my district. I love my constituents. I don't always call them constituents. I'm usually like, I love my neighbors and community members.
Right.
The constituent just sounds, it's like me calling a patient. Like, you have a name. One of the things I made sure of is to be probably one of the most accessible legislators.
Mm-hmm.
I give people my phone number all the time. And I'm like, if you need me, call me, text me. I will get back to you.
Oh,
Personally,
Yes, we
Oh,
do.
get back to you.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
If you need me to come to your house, I'll come to your house. I will sit with you. I will sit and I will listen. And it's not because I'm a state representative. In the end of the day, I'm a therapist.
Mm-hmm.
I've always known I was a therapist. I always knew I was going to be a therapist. And that really does help how I shape my policies and the perspective I bring to Dover. So now we're up for a re-election. This is a big year. Like,
Yes.
this is a presidential election. I know people are probably really tired of the text messages. I'm very sorry. I haven't sent any. It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
Good.
I didn't do it.
I didn't do it.
I
I
didn't
didn't
do
do
it.
it.
I will call you. I probably will not send you a gazillion texts.
I didn't do it.
But it's a big year, and it's a historical year. And I know we have concerns. I know some people are like questioning.
Yeah.
But I am kind of looking forward to my children watching history happen for a second time in a presidential election in their lifetime. I'm looking forward to my mother, who was here in Delaware when it was still kind of segregated.
Right.
Already having gotten the chance to vote for a black man, getting to possibly vote for a woman of color in her history, in her lifetime, before she's gone. And we have to do this.
Yeah.
We have to do this. I know we're tired, and I know we're disenfranchised, and we are just beyond feeling like people care. I care.
Yeah.
So we have to do this. We have to get our absentee votes in.
Right.
I want you to know I was a yes vote on bringing back early voting.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you for that.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
It was important to have the absentee ballots. I am one of the first visibly disabled state representative legislators here in Delaware. I am not shy about sharing I have multiple sclerosis. And I am never shy about how that impacts my ability sometimes to interact with people and network. There are times I am, as I am right now, where I'm okay and I'm moving. But what you're seeing is 3 shots of espresso.
So funny.
It's really working for me.
So it's working for you.
It's working for me right now. I don't know what's gonna happen in an hour. I'll be like sleep.
Yeah.
But sometimes I have a cane, and then if I am in a really bad day, I'm using a rollator, and if it's a really bad day, I use a wheelchair.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't shy away from this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't shy away from the fact that my disability is real, but I also want people to know that my disability does not mean I am not able.
Right.
And my disability brings a different perspective to Dover. You know, when we talk about our community members with disabilities, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In fact, a piece of legislation that I'm working on, I was able to get out of committee, and I'm still, fine-tuning. It's a very old piece of legislation. It's over a decade old, and it was given to me in my first term. And it is to improve and strengthen the accessibility parking enforcement in this state.
Yes.
We are not doing okay.
Yeah.
But it's not just to ensure that people aren't parking in accessible parking spaces when they're not supposed to. It's also to look at businesses who, if they restripe or repave, are not following federal guidelines.
Yeah, there has to be, I used to work in the parking industry, but there's federal law.
Every 10 spots,
you have to have
an accessible parking space, and you have to have at least one van accessible parking space. There are certain with requirements. There's so many things, and it's not happening. The University of Delaware had students go out, do research, and they went through the entire state, all 3 counties, trying to look into how we are doing, and we failed.
Wow.
We failed. And so I want to ensure that everyone, regardless of their ability, are able to get to the stores they want to get to be able to go outside and just have a great time. And here's the thing. When we do this, stores get more patrons.
Right.
Yes.
You get more money because now we can access your store. So that's like one of the pieces of legislation that I'm working on. I was able to pass two really good pieces of legislation this session.
Mm-hmm.
And I just had a bill signing for one of them earlier this week with my kids.
Yes, we
I
saw
saw
that.
I brought my babies. I dragged my babies. I should be honest. I was like, guys, you're coming with me. And they're like, oh, no. Yeah. See what mommy does. And they're like, we want to play Minecraft. I was like, I work to feed you.
Right.
Yeah, but Dawn and I, when we saw the picture of you and your family at the bill signing with Governor Carney, we just said how cool it is, like as a kid, to have those types of experiences, right? And being able to go to Leg Hall and know the players and know the system and know how to impact change,
Right.
or to influence change at such a young age.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and we all had a good laugh at the fact that my 13-year-old in almost every picture is like doing this, and I just gave up. You know, I'm like, if you're happy, sure. But it is important, and I think it's important that we have these conversations in our schools. Our kids need to know what our government's doing. They need to know what government does.
Mm-hmm.
I would say a lot of times people are not necessarily sure what the state government does and can do.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, we can't stop your neighbor from being a drunk. But we can send you resources to help.
Mm-hmm.
And my youngest, my 10-year-old, he has now in his lifetime met two governors. He was a baby when he met Markell, and he's recently met Carney. In fact, the first time we went, he got to personally meet Carney and ask interview questions. His obsession was Carney's mini golf putt-putt toy in his office.
We have one over there.
to the point that it was like the only thing he would talk about, and I ended up having to get him one for his birthday.
That's so cute.
And I was like, and I told Governor Carney when we saw him at the bill, so I'm like, you're the reason I had to buy one of these for his birthday. I just want you to know that.
No.
But my older two actually love seeing this. They are very community oriented, and they want to see their state and their country and their world thrive.
Right.
And that's my goal.
Yeah.
And so that being said, November 5th is the election, and I stand true on autonomy. I believe in a woman's right to choose what
Yes.
happens to her body.
Yep.
Yes.
I believe that every student deserves not just a great education, but an equitable one. There is the difference.
Mm-hmm.
If they are in a school that is not receiving funding because people are pulling their kids out, it's inner city. I'm an inner city kiddo. That hurts our students. That hurts our teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And every child deserves a good and equitable education. They also deserve to eat food that's free at school. Universal free breakfast and lunch is the way. Of course, not every student's going to need it.
Mm-hmm. But it should be there.
But it should be there in case something happens, and they do.
Yes.
Right.
There's this concept like, well, parents who are wealthy will never need to worry about this. We should never say never.
Life can change at the drop of a hat.
I
Okay.
say constantly, we are all one hop, skip, and jump away.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, something my grandparents raised me on. Like, we don't know. And so we should have again, it's about autonomy. We should have that option available. We need to protect all forms of healthcare in this state. And it
Yes.
needs to be affordable, which we were able to kind of do
Mm-hmm.
this last session, and I'm really happy about that. As someone who is disabled, medical needs are up here.
Right.
And so, but another thing we do really need to start focusing on is our affordable housing crisis. And we are in talks about how we can make things a lot easier for residents of the state. There's so much more I haven't gotten the chance to do.
Right.
And I want to do it
Yeah.
because I've already been there.
Mm-hmm.
My oldest son, Lucian's 19, and he's in the second year of college. And he said to me, Mom, you know, you are what people talk about being the American dream.
Mm.
And I was like, it was also 11 p.m. I was like, what are you talking about? And he explained to me that, you know, the story, someone who rags to riches or someone pulling themselves up by their bootstraps. My parents were not rich, but we did what we could, the best that we had. And then I worked as a teenager. I don't think I never had a job.
Yeah.
And then I got married and I had my children and I decided to be stay at home for a little bit, but I wanted a job. And so I got a job. And then my daughter became my daughter. And for her safety, I left my job.
Mm-hmm.
And we slipped into poverty. You know, being in poverty is one of the most expensive ways to live.
Yeah.
It really is.
It really is.
And
it really is.
Even within that poverty, I managed to do what I could for my neighbors. And I was involved in the education system for, even if I didn't have kids in the education system. I was homeschooling. And what I did in that time frame was I went back to school, I went back to college. And I got my bachelor's. In fact, funny story, I handed in my final paper for my bachelor's degree while I was in labor with my third child.
Wow.
I was literally in the hospital like,
We gotta get this done.
Yes.
and the doctor's just like, what are you doing? Like, I could tell my professor. And I actually did. I remember submitting the paper and then writing, just so you know, I'm also about to have a baby. And I do remember the person like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Why?
What should be extra credit?
and I got my bachelor's degree. And then, I got a divorce. Sorry, that was I'm single. Just so you know. Single.
We'll put your number,
right
we'll scroll
across.
your number across the bottom.
Right across
The 2 homes. Just like how it's scrolling. Called today. It would still just be constituents. Just like, I have a pothole. I'm like, okay, I'm on it. But I then had my first stroke. So my first stroke was in 2018. And it was 2 days after I brought the first Newcastle County LGBTQ Youth Pride Festival. And then from there, everything kind of changed.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know why I had a stroke.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have high blood pressure. I didn't have anything
Wow.
to have a stroke.
Yeah.
I had learned that MS can kind of increase your risk of stroke.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't know I had MS yet.
Yeah, that was going to be my question.
We didn't know. We didn't know what was going on with me. And there is nothing scarier than being unable to walk or speak well when you are now a divorced mother of 4. And I shared a story.
Mm-hmm. And how old was your youngest baby at that point?
Thane was 3.
Mm.
Thane
Okay.
was 3. And I share this and how it ties into my policy of access to healthcare, not just affordable access, equitable access. Equity is important. We have to shrink these horrible disparity gaps. The treatment towards women of color in particular, the fat phobia that comes with it. I actually was not obese at the time. I was not.
I was not either.
But the response was to put me on steroids because they noticed something was my inflammatory markers were super high. They're like steroids. But they never thought MRI. They never thought we should do something more. And that is a delay of care.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, when you can't walk, your voice is slurred, and now you're being given steroids, you are gaining weight. And by, I would say 2020, when, you know, everything was great, I was only receiving disability through SSI. I was on Medicaid, and I was receiving food stamps to keep and meet, like just trying to pay bills, and it was so hard. But I, you know, I stayed positive, and I thought to, I was like, I need to do something. I need to do something that's going to bridge the gaps. Still wasn't thinking politics at the time. So instead, I founded a nonprofit.
Right.
Like, through all of this, I founded a nonprofit called Intersections of Pride Foundation, which began to look at the gaps in our state. So with the help of my older 2 children, we created 2 programs. And while this was all going on, my babies, which are my life, they are my everything. You know, people ask me, who's your role model? It's my children. My role model are my babies. Yeah. I have this thing about just randomly singing in my house. I love musicals. And I'll just start singing. And so my kids would make me sing to them to help me get my speech back.
Wow.
Because I educated them, and they all had speech delays. And there's something about music that helps. When they're doing speech, language, pathology, they'll give a sing-songy voice to help them say certain syllables. So my kids helped me regain my speech the way I taught them.
How proud of a mom does that make you?
I didn't realize what they were doing, but then I realized what they were doing.
Yeah.
And then my little one, he was like, Mommy, walk with me, to teach me how to walk again. And we did it together. And that's where community comes. Yes. That is community. Even if it's within your own home, it's still community. Yeah. And so my oldest son, he was like, Mom, we got to do something to help the homeless. So he created the Hot Food and Resource Drive through the nonprofit. And monthly, we would literally buy banquet pot pies for $1, heat them up, put them in aluminum foil, and then give them out with water. And then we would team up with other organizations, and we had like little bags of different resources. And since it was during the pandemic, we had face masks, hand sanitizer, just all the things we needed. And then my daughter created a program called Butterfly Baskets. And Butterfly Baskets are for post-op, non-binary, and trans people. And it provides the things you need to help you heal, but also like your favorite candies and like a stuffy. Yeah. And a card that says, I'm proud of you, congratulations. Because not everyone has that support. And that's true. So we were doing all these things as I was recovering from a stroke, an untreated stroke. And then my friends approached me like, you should run for office. And I was like, that's crazy talk. Stop talking to me. And instead I was like, no, I'm going to get my master's degree. I will become the first person in my family to get a graduate degree. I was the first person in my family to go to college. And it was important to me. Yeah. And I knew I wanted to get it in a behavioral science. Right. So I told my friends, negotiations. If I get my bachelor's degree within less of the 2 years that the program is, then I will run for office. And I ended up finishing my master's degree program in 16 months.
Wow. So here
we
are.
And so I then ran for office, and I ran on obviously reproductive choice, legalization of recreational marijuana, and gun safety. Nice. As a therapist, we know that if there's a firearm in a home with a person who is suicidal, the percentage of time that they will succeed is really high. Right. And being someone who is a champion for a variety of underrepresented communities, vulnerable communities, that was important to me. You know, I want responsible legal gun owners to keep their guns, but I also want there to be safety and education.
Mhm.
I do not believe these things are mutually exclusive.
Right.
I don't.
Mhm.
Education doesn't mean take.
Yes.
You know, education means now I know how to
Right.
treat this with more care.
Right.
You know, so that was really something I focused on when I ran. And so when I won, I was ready. You know, it was a learning curve. It is a learning curve in Dover. A lot of different personalities.
I could imagine.
But I, you know, like my office is like the most fun office at Lake Hall. It is pink everywhere. I have squishmallows. It's a fun office.
Yeah.
And I have a gift that was given to me from a friend. It's a poster of all the U.S. presidents, but they all have mullets. It's fantastic. It's on my wall.
Yeah.
But I was ready.
Mhm.
And then in 2023, I had another stroke. And I was in the hospital. This time, I was in the hospital for a week.
Oh no.
Okay. And I was sad because the day I had the stroke, the next day I was supposed to have my first bill I had ever paid sign.
Oh no.
Which was the water. It was a clean water bill. It requires reporting and more transparency in regards to our water infrastructure in the state.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's like, hi, I'm in the hospital, you know? And so that was, and I lost my speech briefly again. Only I had more care. And luckily it happened when we were out of session. But it was scary.
Yeah.
And, you know, now that I know I have MS, you know, I always have to be a little bit more cautious.
Yeah.
Having 2 strokes is never good, and you're more prone to more strokes, and strokes do run in my family. And so when I do what I do, when I go in my district, when I come visit small businesses like yours, I'm doing it because if I didn't have community, if I didn't have my kids, if I didn't have my friends, I don't know where I'd be. And I don't want anyone to ever feel like they cannot reach out to me. I never want my constituents, I never want the businesses in my district, I never want anyone to think that I am not accessible.
Yeah.
Because accessibility is literally what I run on.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. How important, and I think we talked about this probably last week or the week before, but how important is voting in local elections? Because I think a lot of times people think, oh, we just need to vote for the president. How important is voting locally?
So federally, things are a little slow moving, a lot slow moving, you know, and federal laws, most, if not most of the time, can be molded by states to fit what the state needs. When we vote in our local elections, and I'm not just talking about us as, you know, state representatives, I'm also talking about your county people.
Yes.
I'm talking about your city council people, school board elections.
Yes.
Those are where immediate change comes. That is where immediate change happens, is with us.
Right.
Most of our bills come from you.
Right.
You come to us. I was just talking to Devin the other day, and she brought up, like, you know, the fact that there's loitering and stuff around her business. And it just so happened, like, the day before, I got an email from another property owner on this road on Lancaster Avenue asking the same question. I had already sent out Troop 1 and a behavioral health unit to this area, and they did what they did.
Yeah.
But when I'm seeing it from different property owners and business owners, like, what else can we do?
Yeah.
She helped me realize I already do public safety town halls. I already do public safety.
Sorry, I was giving.
So she doesn't.
I already do public.
What I do.
Public safety town halls for the community. I do it twice a year, so the community can meet with the captain of our Delaware State Police, our county police community person, and, you know, the Ellesmere police chief, and just like our councilman and me and the senator. But I was like, we need to do one for small businesses and property owners.
Yes.
And I can bring out the behavioral health unit, and they can dispense Narcan kits, because that's what they did this last time. So this is our Narcan kits from the Delaware Health and Social Services, DHSS. Thanks, guys. But this is something we will disperse. They will disperse, not me. They will disperse to not only the business owners and property owners, but to the homeless and those who are struggling on the streets. Because here's the thing. The only people who can help themselves is themselves. And so sometimes they'll say, like, do you need a place to go? Do you need assistance? And if they say no, we can't force it. So what we try to do is get them like an emergency food basket. I think that's what they provide, and a Narcan kit.
Okay.
And their cards. Like, if you do feel like you need help, contact us. But I realize that may not be enough for the business owners and the property owners. And so that conversation and that email from 2 people who are in my district has now led to something I'm creating and in the works. And that's how this works for us. We just passed a bill named after a beautiful young woman named Hope. So we were talking about Hope. We passed a bill because she was a young woman, a young Black woman, who died from ovarian cancer when she was complaining about pain, and they were like, you're too young. No. And so we, even with a family history, so we were able to pass a bill that now, if you have a family history, you get the same type of early detection screening as you would for breast cancer.
Yes.
And that came from her parents. So it's important to vote in this local election. It's so important to vote this November 5th. Because, and this is the part I want to drive home the most. When Roe v. Wade was overturned by our Supreme Court, that is the bill that allowed women to safely get abortions. Delaware legislators on a local level codified it here, meaning providers were safe to continue the work. Even if it was someone leaving a state where it was banned, they could come here safely. We also, just this year, and I was so proud to be a co-sponsor, Medicaid and private insurance now covers abortions. We were able to make sure abortion medication is available on colleges, college campuses, because we know sexual assault is a real thing on college campuses. We have to vote in our local elections, because if anything changes federally, that is when your state has the power to make sure it doesn't change for you.
I appreciate you saying that, because you explained that perfectly so everyone can understand.
So our state elected officials have the ability to protect us from certain changes that may be happening at the federal level.
That's right.
Very good.
Vote, guys.
But we have to vote. And after the last we got to vote. Vote for Deshanna Neal, District 13. November, what's the date?
November 5th.
November 5th. Go blue. It's been a very good episode.
We could keep talking.
We could keep talking forever. We'll have to shoot another one. But you also have a parade and a festival next Sunday.
So, October 6th, I have brought back, after a hiatus, the Newcastle County LGBTQ Youth Pride Festival.
Absolutely.
It's at Banning Park from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. We would love to have you there. We've got entertainment. We've got a DJ. Sorry, there is no food truck, because look and listen, people. It is right off Maryland Avenue. There is food.
There's food.
Go get food, come back.
Get a pizza.
And so this was important because, the culture right now for that community is scary. And we want to support them. Vote for me November 5th if you're in District 13. That's all of Ellesmere, a little bit of Newport, and a little bit of Wilmington, because I have an opponent, and we don't want this momentum of change, of positive, equitable change, to go away.
No. We need to continue the momentum. Keep the momentum going forward. Vote
and
blue.
I'm cute.
And she's so adorable. She's so cute. Thank you, Representative Neal. Thank so much for coming. You guys have a great week and stay positive, peace, love, and we have a new butterfly. It's our sign. This is the sign language for butterfly.
For butterfly.
We learned that this week. Thank you, Sherry.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Have a good week.